This is Cruise Radio.
I cruise a lot, and I always sail with travel insurance. You should, too. Get a free quote today at tripinsurance.com.
Broadcasting from the tripinsurance.com studios in Jacksonville, Florida.
This is
Cruise Radio. Cruise Radio.
Hey, how's it going? My name is Doug Parker. Thank you so much for checking out this episode of Cruise Radio. This weekend show's a little bit different. Talking with Ralph about his cruise on MSC Seashore. We originally weren't going to air this. We were just kind of getting some perspective, talking back and forth, and he was really doing a good job over the email comparing the cruise line against other cruise lines he's been on. So we started chatting on the phone. I asked if we could record the conversation. He agreed. So we pick up where Ralph is talking about his cruise history, and then we kind of go all over the place from here. With that said, enjoy the episode.
My wife and I love cruises. We started cruising. Our first cruise was when Disney first launched their cruise line. My wife is an insane Disney addict. I never wanted to go on a cruise. And I said, no, I'm going to be bored. I don't want to do it. And when they introduced the line, I think it was 98 or 99, they had one ship. And my wife drugged me on board that ship, kind of kicking and screaming. And by the end of the trip, I was hooked. And we're now, I think, approaching 30 cruises with a variety of different lines. So we go, like last year, we went on 4 different cruises. So, we're hooked.
You are preaching to the choir here because I know exactly what you're talking about. Is MSC Seashore based out of Canaveral?
Yeah, it was out of Port Canaveral. And, the reason that we even gave them a try, we didn't know anything about MSC, and they are kind of a new player in the market. They're not as well known as the others. I actually was watching one day Gary Bembridge's cruise channel, and he mentioned that they did this loyalty match thing. Yep. And about half of the cruises we've done over the years have been with Disney. So we got up to their top tier loyalty. So MSC had a form I had to fill out. I filled out the form. I emailed it back to them. I had to provide proof that I had that status with Disney. And they gave me their top status, which is Diamond. They gave me it right off the bat. I had never been on their line. And so we threw that out there just to see what they would give us in terms of status. And when they gave us the Diamond thing, we said, okay, let's give them a go. Let's give it a try. And that was what really got us on board with MSC initially. Otherwise, we've kind of, as the family has aged, we've sort of aged out of the Disney vibe. We haven't been on Disney in quite a while. And we've sort of gone between, we've done Holland, we've done Royal, we've done Viking, both river and ocean, Celebrity, Carnival. We've sort of now we haven't really been loyal to anybody. We were loyal to Disney for quite a while, but we really haven't been loyal to anybody. And that was what took us onto the ship in the first place, was that loyalty match program.
It's funny you talk about loyalty because I probably sailed 30. I've been sailing with Carnival since I was a kid, but I probably had like 30 Carnival cruises in a row before I actually started branching out. And I was like, wow, there is more to life than just that free luggage I get, or the free wash and fold I get with my loyalty program. So I feel you with branching out. I was die hard. And as I'm getting older, it's like, I want to explore more and go to more destinations that maybe Carnival doesn't go to, but I also want to experience more. If I feel like a chill vacation, like up in Alaska, I'll hop on Holland America or whatever,
Yep. And we're kind of at that same point. I mean, my wife and I don't have children, but we have 2 nieces. And of course, they're grown women with their own families now. But when they were little, we were the favorite. We were the cool aunt and uncle. Right. And, usually a couple of times a year, we would grab the 2 of them, the 2 girls, and we would go on Disney. And that's how we amassed. And we started when the youngest one was probably about 5 and her sister was 7. And we continued till they were teenagers. And like I say, we sort of aged with the line and we aged out of the line. Yeah. And now that it's mostly just my wife and I, and occasionally some other family members that'll jump on, you're right. We do the same thing. We kind of look for, where are we getting a deal? Where is it going? Those kind of things. I do love Port Canaveral because, as you well know, It's easy striking distance for us. No planes, no crazy, we hop in the car, we get on the boat. So that's another thing that, will help us select where we're going, is where is it going out of.
Once you get to Port Canaveral, how was the MSC embarkation process, juxtaposed against Disney, who you've sailed numerous times right across the harbor there?
I've got to kind of caveat my discussion with you about this because there's kind of a Dickens moment here of kind of the best of times, worst of times. We initially booked a regular cabin with them. Actually, we booked an inside cabin. And because we just wanted to give them a try, and we thought we're not going to throw all the money at it, and let's just do this. It was a 4-day cruise, and 16 to the 20th. And we thought, well, we'll book an inside cabin. So then, of course, like most cruise lines, they send us an email and they go, do you want to bid for an upgrade? And we had heard all these people talking about the yacht club experience. And initially, when I looked at it, it was like, oh, that's like ridiculously expensive. I'm not going to pay for that for a 4-day cruise. But I threw a bid at the upgrade and I got it.
Nice.
So 2 days before we sailed, we were taken out of our interior regular cabin and we were relocated to an interior yacht club cabin.
Nice.
Now, when it comes to the yacht club, the ship within a ship concept, honestly, Doug, there's almost nothing good I can say about it.
Okay.
That was like a ridiculously bad experience. But the best of times part is because of that, we spent virtually no time in the yacht club and we enjoyed the rest of the ship. And on the way back home, driving back, my wife and I were talking about the experience, kind of unpacking the whole thing. And we said that we left with the feeling that MSC was now like our new favorite cruise line. We had the best time. We loved the ship. And we actually have already booked another one on the same ship in November with just a regular cabin. We grabbed a balcony this time. So I almost have to do like a part A and a part B for you at some point, because part of the yacht club embarkation is you're supposed to have this priority, VIP kind of experience getting on. We did get on rapidly from the time we park off site. We use the park by the ports. We like them. And so, we take the shuttle bus over, they drop us off. Nobody in the area immediately kind of knew where we were supposed to go for yacht club. Then somebody pointed to like a tent that had, said yacht club on it. So we went over there. I can't say that the greeting was particularly friendly. They then kind of hustled us into the terminal. So yeah, we skipped the line, but then they put us in like a lounge, like a waiting area. And we got there, I guess it was about 1:00 in the afternoon, and nobody really told us what to do except wait here, and there were a lot of people waiting. And eventually we waited there they had some snacks and drinks, but we didn't avail ourselves of that because we didn't know how much time we'd be there. Eventually somebody came over to us. They did check us in there, like they had the little iPad thing and they checked us in there. But I had already done the online check-in, so there wasn't really a whole lot to do. They basically just kind of confirmed we were who we said we were. And then they said, okay, wait here and a butler will come and get you. Okay. So then some dude shows up in like, what looks like an old English butler costume. And he grabs about 12 of us and he just says like, follow me. And we're just like really quick stepping it like through, the crowd. And they don't have like a line. Like they literally are just like sort of, the butler's literally like yelling at people, sort of like, make way, out of the way, here come the important people. And we got on the ship. They took us to the yacht club and they took us to the bar at the yacht club. And we were told basically like, well, your rooms aren't ready yet. Wait here and someone will come get you. Okay. So then again, after a little while, somebody came to get us and they took us and showed us our room. And from that point onward, it just like it never lived up to their brand promise in terms of the level of service and so forth that we got. Give you one example in particular. MSC, you cannot make dining or spa reservations. You can pre-buy at a discount, but you can't make the reservations until you're actually on board the ship. So because they gave us this diamond status, nothing to do with Yacht Club, because they gave us this diamond status, we were supposed to be allowed one night in a specialty restaurant. And then my wife had pre-purchased a massage at the spa. And so we went to the concierge, and their advertising says, well, you have this Yacht Club only concierge who, sort of caters to your every desire. And we went up and they were okay. But the lady literally said to us when we said, well, we need to make this dining reservation and we need to make this spa reservation. And she said, well, you can do that on the app on the phone.
What? What is the concierge for? Yeah.
Right. It was like, well, then, but you're the concierge. And then she comes from around the counter and they have these huge touch screens all over the ship. And she proceeds to instruct us on how to do the touch screen. Well, there was no availability for the steakhouse on the night we wanted it. And I said, well, the screen says there's no availability. I said, is there something you can do? Like, is there like a secret yacht club table or something? And she was like, oh, no, I'm sorry. You'll have to pick another night.
Wow.
Okay. Same with my wife's spa visit. I mean, what we learned from this experience is like the moment you hit the deck, you need to get on that app and book stuff. Because my wife had to do a massage at like 8:30 in the morning because it was like the only time available. The restaurant was very lackluster. It was supposed to have this bespoke menu for the yacht club. We actually went and looked at the menu for the MDR. It was the same menu. So there was nothing special about the food other than, it was anytime dining. Yes, there are a lot more two tops in there if you want to dine as a couple. The bar was nothing special. They promised live entertainment in their bar in the yacht club. We never saw anybody do any live entertainment in there for more than 10 or 15 minutes. And then they would take a break and then they come back in a half hour and do 10 or 15 minutes. The butler that was assigned to us in the cabin she was very sweet, but I really didn't see any advantage to her over like just a good cabin steward. They claim they have reserved seating in the main theater. They do. I didn't really like the section where they were sitting everybody in the yacht club, so we went and sat somewhere else. There's no other benefits anywhere else really in the ship other than you can use the thermal suite in the spa. So jumping ahead to disembarkation, it was supposed to be priority because we were a yacht club. They made us get out of all of our cabins by by 7 o'clock in the morning. We had to be out of the cabin in the yacht club. And then they moved us into the lounge and they offered a breakfast, which was, nothing special. And then we sat there. I mean, we sat in the lounge with everybody else in our carry-on bags and everything for, it was at least an hour. And then in groups, like they would take us to get off the ship. But once we got to where they're like scanning your key card to get you off the ship, we were just in a line. I mean, it was it didn't take us long, but I mean, it certainly wasn't. We've had, frankly, a better experience buying the key on Royal than we had with the whole yacht clubby thing. On their private island, they have their own beach for that. I didn't think it was the best beach on the island. And they have a little restaurant there. So, you don't get the buffet barbecue thing. You get, a menu. But again, it's not like, oh my gosh, caviar and pheasant under glass. I mean, it's hamburgers and lobster rolls. I mean, So overall, like, would I ever do yacht club again? Probably not. Would I go back on the ship? So if you want to kind of jump ahead to some of your other questions.
Yeah, I just have a couple of things to unpack here with the yacht club, because I know one of the perks of Diamond with MSC's Voyagers Club, because I've heard people talk about it before, is you can get a late stateroom checkout, but it sounded like that didn't apply for your sailing.
No, and they knew we were Diamond because it said it on our card.
Yeah.
And we actually, one of the highlights was we kind of felt like we were sort of interlopers, but we got invited to the Diamond party, with the captain.
Right.
And we won, because our card says Diamond. Here we are, And that was one of the high points. But no, there was no recognition that was given really to us other than one night in the room, a chocolate bar, which they do have a very, very upscale chocolate shop on the ship, which, the line is Italian, and they have Venki chocolates, which kind of like Ghirardelli, or Lindt. It's like an upscale chocolate. So one night we got a chocolate bar that said thanks for being Diamond, and a bottle of Prosecco was in the room. So I guess no matter where we had been on the ship, we probably would have gotten that. But that was really the only acknowledgement of Diamond relative to being in there. And we asked about the late checkout just because I didn't want to have to get up at the crack of dawn. And they were very emphatic about, oh, no. We have to turn the room. It's the point at which you're like your best friend until the last day.
What kind of stateroom did you have in the yacht club, and what did you think of that? Was it much different from other staterooms you've had on other lines?
Not really, not at all. I don't even think it was that much better appointed. It was small. It was an interior stateroom. The bathroom was ridiculously small. In fact, in the shower, the first day, I had accidentally soaked the floor in the bathroom because I didn't realize that when I was sort of washing myself, I had bumped the door of the shower with my elbow and it had cracked open a bit. So water was coming out into the room. And I didn't realize it until I was done. So it was the closest thing I can say is that the bathroom was like an RV bathroom. I mean, it was tiny, 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 tiny. We had, the traditional twin beds smushed together. They were comfortable. I had to ask for a mattress pad because we had the big gap in the middle. They had a couple of chairs, a small little table. They had one wall of, where they had the wardrobe and the desk and the TV and all of that. It wasn't bad, but it was comparable to a normal bottom price interior cabin.
Okay.
I definitely didn't think it felt upmarket. And they only have a handful of those. Most of the rooms are balcony and most of them are big suites in the yacht club. And I kept wondering, Doug, if we were being treated differently because we were in the tiny cabin, because they kind of know, they may not have known that we got it on an upgrade bid, but they kind of know, well, you're the cheap people. You didn't pay for the suite. But I don't know that was the case. That's just, we just kind of went, So yeah, I wasn't that impressed with it. If I had been in my previously booked interior cabin in the other part of the ship, I would have been, this is a nice cabin. But my expectations had bumped up because they went, oh, yacht club, Still had the big, bottles mounted to the wall of the, all-purpose, body wash, shampoo, mouthwash, whatever in the big container.
Once you got out of the yacht club and started making your way around the ship through the promenade and the outdoor spaces, what were your first impressions there?
We thought it was gorgeous. I mean, it was one of the most beautiful ships, and the layout was super comfortable to get around. They have a ridiculously crazy water park on board. I mean, there was just that moment where I wished I was 10, that rivaled anything I've seen on other ships. The only thing that I hear from some people is they think that it's a bit gaudy because everything is crystals and shiny and whatever. But my wife loves bling. She's from New York. She loves bling. And she was just in awe of the ship. The whole ship is themed New York City. That's their thing. So it's there's small statue of the Statue of Liberty in one of the bars. There's an area they call Times Square that was really cool and had this big video wall. We thought it was beautiful. It was just absolutely gorgeous. And that was our first impression. The big atrium, which is like 5 decks, they have like a balcony where the entertainment is above the base deck. There's a bar on the base deck, and then there's a balcony above that where the band plays. And really, you could sit on any of the 5 decks and enjoy the entertainment. They had bars on all the decks. I mean, a lot of stuff took place there. That was kind of the biggest single area on the ship, unlike like the promenade areas on Royal, was that atrium. So it was way more vertical than it was horizontal, but it was beautiful. It was just super cool.
I love walking through the MSC Seashore, or a couple of their ships actually, because when you walk past the chocolate area, it just it attacks you, right? It's just so good.
Yes. And we also felt like the shops generally were way more upscale than what we see on a lot of other ships, and not just the products they were carrying, but I mean, just the way the stores were laid out. It just had a more upscale feel. And we love the chocolate shop. I mean, we spent way too much time and way too much money in there, both in terms of eating in there, getting ice cream, getting, coffees, and buying chocolates to bring home. Well, that was our big gift to our family. We brought a lot of chocolates home.
Let's talk about the dining on board. You mentioned that you had the yacht club restaurant up there, but outside of that, like the buffet area and any specialty restaurants that you might have went through on the 4 nights.
Absolutely. The only specialty restaurant we ate at was on the first night, and we went to the Mexican restaurant, Ola, that they have on there. That was the memorable meal of the entire trip. They had a first night special. It was $17.95, all you can eat. We had a delightful young man who I actually called out on the survey, this delightful fellow, Mohammed, who couldn't have been nicer. The portion sizes there were like tapas. And so we literally spent like a couple hours in there. And Muhammad would come by periodically and go, do you want something else? Yeah, get us a couple more of these or whatever it was. And he would do that. It was a beautiful restaurant, a lot of glass. So you were looking out over, the side of the ship. I mean, I would beeline for that on night 1 every time I'm on that ship. That was sort of my version of Guy's Burgers. Like, I have to go there. I can't avoid it, And I couldn't beat the price. I mean, like I say, $17.95, we more than ate our fill.
So is it $17.95 and it keeps on coming until you're full?
Yeah. They literally left the menu and they had like these really small, soft tacos. So maybe about 6 inches across. Mm-hmm. And they had every combination you can think of. They had a whole listing of those and a whole listing of burritos. You could literally, and that's what we did. Like, first round, we were like, okay, let's have the guacamole and the chips. They brought that. It was house made. It was beautiful. Then we went into the tacos and like my wife tried a couple of the selections. I tried a couple. Then Muhammad came back. Then my wife ordered a couple more. I ordered a burrito. Yeah, you could for $17.95. It's supposedly a first night special. So I don't know. We didn't go back. So I don't know what the price is after the first night, but it was $17.95, all you can eat. In fact, my wife said the dessert, she had a dulce de leche for dessert in the Mexican restaurant. She said it was the best dessert she's ever had on a cruise ship.
Taking me on a roller coaster ride here with the ups and downs of the sailing.
It really was funny. I mean, like the first night we ate in the Mexican restaurant. The second night we ate in the yacht club restaurant. And it was a disaster. I mean, my wife ordered a vodka martini. This is exactly what she said to the assistant waiter. I would like a vodka martini straight up with a lemon twist. What she received was a gin and tonic on ice with a lime. She called the waiter over and she said, this is not what I ordered. And the waiter goes, oh, you don't want that? And she was, no, it's not what I ordered. So then she said, just bring me a Jack Daniels on ice. He comes back literally, Doug, with like a water glass, like a soda glass, filled to the brim. We're thinking he brought iced tea or ginger ale or something. She takes a sip. It is Jack, but it's like she'd be dead. My wife's petite. She'd be on the floor. It was like a ridiculous amount of alcohol, a totally inappropriate glass. So he comes back again. He notices she hasn't had any of it. And he says, oh, is there something wrong with your drink again? And she said, well, it's a little excessive. Can I just get a glass of wine? The service was, it certainly wasn't on point. So from that point, we said, okay, forget this. The next night, we ate in the buffet, in the big buffet. Loved it, particularly the Italian selections. They make the pasta fresh on board. Pizza, oh my God. If that was a pizza shop in my neighborhood, I would never buy pizza anywhere else. And I'm a pizza fiend. I mean, I'll go to Sorrento's. I'll go to all the ones on every ship. Fabulous, fabulous pizza. I thought the buffet was wonderful. I thought the selections were wonderful. Now, again, one little caveat about MSC generally, they don't have, really all you really have is like a couple little snacky places, the MDR and the buffet. It's not like, Carnival or Royal where there's like a food outlet on every corner of the ship. So your choices are somewhat limited, and they do tend to serve European style. So even in the buffet, like if you get a bowl of pasta, I mean, you're probably going to, if you have an American appetite, you're probably going to go back and get a second bowl. They don't, even in the restaurants, they don't serve huge portions. They serve very European sized portions. We didn't have a problem with that, but I've heard some people that are friends of ours that have cruised a lot and have said, I don't like MSC. There's not enough food. Okay, well, if by that you mean you had to get up and go back and get more food, okay. But it's not like they give you these huge, plates of stuff. And then the last night, we had run into the gentleman who was in charge of the yacht club, and he asked us how we were enjoying it. And we, don't ask my opinion if you don't want it. So we were honest with him. And he said, oh my God, I'm so sorry to hear that, blah, blah, blah. And then he started making a lot of excuses about, well, on the short sailings, they don't have enough time to do XYZ. You should come back on one of the longer sailings. We have a lot of new employees. I mean, it was all that kind of stuff. So the last night we did eat back in the restaurant, and he had said something to the head waiter. So the head waiter came over and he was like all apologizing and, I wish you would have told me sooner. And I went, well, nobody ever came by and asked. So the last night we had a good experience. I can't say that the food was elevated in any way over the other restaurants, but the service was better. But I think the only reason the service was better was because now we were on somebody's radar that, they're not having a good time, do something about it.
Just to hop in here for a second, what doesn't make sense?
Please, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no.
I have no problem talking. You figured that out.
Yeah, no problem at all. I was just curious because like what he said is almost backwards or upside down, because you would think if someone's taking a short sailing, they may want to sample MSC for a 3 or 4 night cruise and actually come back because they were blown away by the service and come back and do a longer sailing because they loved it so much. Not saying, well, it's only a 3 night, it's only a 4 night. Come back and experience a longer one. It's much better. You know what I'm saying?
Believe me, I had the same reaction because when you figure there's maybe about 200 people in yacht club. So you're not talking about like a huge volume of people. So like, for instance, pretty much every night we would stop for a nightcap in they call it the top sail lounge, the lounge that only yacht club people can go to. And we had the same bartender every time. We tend to like to sit at the bar when we're having our nightcap. We usually have a little conversation with the bartender. This guy was like a South African dude. I only knew that because it said so on his badge. By the third night, I mean, he had no glimmer of recognition. My wife ordered the same drink every night. No memory of that. So I don't know what would have changed in 7 days that on day 5, he would have realized, oh yeah, the Davises are back. As opposed to, I mean, I've been on, Christmas, we were on Holland America, and we did tend to go to the same bar, and it was the same bartender. And we would chat with them. And, it was a 7-day cruise. Okay, there's the longer cruise. Actually, it was 10 days. But, a couple of days in, I mean, the bartender's name was Barney. We would sit down at the bar and he'd go, "Hey, Ralph and Linda, oh, are you having your thus and such tonight?" "Oh, yeah, thanks, Barney." And, it was like a cheers moment.
Right.
I didn't pay for 10 days on Holland what I would have paid if I paid full price MSC Yacht Club. And it was a very different level of service.
The entertainment on board MSC for these 4 nights, you mentioned you didn't really particularly care for where the reserved seating was in the main theater. What kind of shows were there in there or around the ship that may have caught your eye?
We loved the production cast. They did 3 of the shows. They did, let's see, first night was a tribute to female singers. They called it Divas Unlimited or something like that. Your typical cruise song and dance show, but boy, they were really talented. Nice job. Second night, they did a rock and roll review show. Again, very good, same cast of people. The last night, they did a more themed show. It was called The Journey, and it followed a character who was traveling by train through Europe, and every place they would stop, like one of the stops was Italy, and 3 of the male singers came out and did kind of the 3 tenors thing and did like an opera thing. We loved it. We thought it was great. We just found ourselves seats that we thought we had a better view of the stage because the yacht club seats were all the way in the back of the theater, as opposed to, like, for instance, the Key on Royal, they're usually front row or close to it. So we sat down front so we could see everything. We thought the shows were very well done, very professional, very talented people. The one night we didn't go to the show, they had a magician. I'm not a big fan of cruise ship magicians, so we kind of skipped out on that. They did have a late night comedian, but that show didn't start till 11:30. By then, we're doing our nightcap and heading to bed. But the production cast, over the moon. We just thought they were as good as anything we've seen on anybody else's ship. Then they had another venue that they call Le Cabaret Rouge, which was very interesting venue. We love the show there. That one is a continuous show. So once it starts at 7, it runs through and then it just keeps recycling until like 11 o'clock at night. And it was a variety show. So there was a singer, there was a band, there was a juggler, there was a lady who did kind of a Cirque du Soleil kind of acrobatic thing. The show lasted about 45 minutes. Then they take like a 15-minute break, and then the show recycles. So we went and saw one of the shows there, loved it, thought it was very well done, very interesting venue, has kind of a Moulin Rouge kind of feel to it. Very, very nice venue. The other one we really loved was the Brooklyn Cafe, which during the day is kind of a upscale coffee shop kind of vibe, like a Seattle vibe. At night, it turns to a jazz club. They had a jazz quartet in there that, I mean, we went there one night. We stayed from the time that those people started their program till they did their final set at midnight. So I have to give the entertainment on board an A+. It was just top drawer all the way. Oh, and by the way, the one thing I do have to give props, I can't be totally negative to Yacht Club. The one thing that was a positive standout in Yacht Club that you don't get elsewhere on the ship was they did do an afternoon high tea serve. What made me think of that is when we went to the diamond party in the afternoon, that was kind of the same thing. Like waiters were floating around with hors d'oeuvres and champagne and, and the captain made a little speech, That was really nice. And that was the diamond party in Brooklyn. The Yacht Club had their high tea in the lounge. Love the sports bar, too. Thought that was a great venue. Really beautiful venue. I mean, just overall, like the look of the ship, the little attention to detail on things was just really great. Love the casino, particularly because it was non-smoking. My wife and I don't smoke. Every night went there for a little while. We're not big gamblers. Like, we get on board with our $100 and if it's gone, it's gone. And if we keep winning, we just keep playing. We love the fact that there was like music everywhere on the ship, live music. In that area that they call Times Square, there was dueling pianos there. You had the jazz in the Brooklyn. You had guitar players in other places. You had steel drum players. There was live music everywhere. We really loved that. The crew outside of Yacht Club was beautiful. They were incredibly friendly. And of course, we didn't have any sea days. And that is a big positive too for me is This was unique. I had never done this before, Doug, which is that they overnighted at the private island.
Okay.
So we were allowed to be on the island until 11 o'clock at night, which was a very unique and wonderful experience. And they did a light show. They have a fake lighthouse, and it's like all LED screens on it. So they do like a nighttime light show to music for about 20 minutes, which was really cool. But just the idea of the ship doesn't move, you can jump on, jump off. So we went out for the day on the island, hung out on the beach, went back, had our dinner, went to the early show, then got off the ship and walked on the beach at 10 o'clock at night.
You mentioned you went to the yacht club section of the private island there. Did you do anything else? You said you walked on the beach, but did you hang out at all on any of the public spaces that were non-yacht club?
Only I can say there's when you get off the ship, there's sort of a central little town area where they have some very nice little gift shops and things, both Bahavian national people, but also like MSC stuff. And that was very lovely. It had kind of a Key West sort of feel to it. We hung out there for a bit. We did walk on the other beach. Like, the problem with the yacht club beach is it's very short and it's bounded by a couple of kind of rock jetties. And I like to walk when I'm on the beach. Yeah. And it was kind of more like pacing when you were on the yacht club beach, because it was sort of like, okay, I'm at the end, turn around, go back the other way. Some of their other beaches, which were the public ones, which where we went at night, much longer beachfront that you could walk along. And, the advantage of the yacht club beach is that, they give you a golf cart ride there because it's a hell of a long way from the ship. You get that little upscale restaurant, which it was okay. You get, lounge chairs are no different than the lounge chairs in the other areas. You don't have to bring your towels. If you're in the public area, you have to bring your towels, but that was really it. I wasn't impressed by that as opposed to the other areas. In fact, the night we got off, they actually had a DJ on the beach and they were having a beach party. It was nice. It was a much more mellow vibe. I love that it's not overdeveloped. It's much more natural on their island. It's not all themed out. Yeah, that was my impression of that.
Back on the ship, you had access to the thermal suite. Did you check out, did you go to the snow rooms and the different rooms inside the thermal area?
Love it, love it, love it, love it. Went there every day. I thought that was a fabulous space. It rivaled a space on Viking Ocean, which was the most upscale kind of thermal area I had seen on a ship up to that point was Viking Ocean. Theirs was every bit as nice. They had the big whirlpool, mineral pool. They had all the different, dry sauna, steam room with lights on, dark steam room, all the different shower type things. They had the snow room. The only thing that was funny about the snow room on Viking, they're actually you feel like you're in a snowstorm. There's snow falling from the ceiling. The one on this ship was more like a walk-in freezer. It was more icy than it was snowy, but it was still cool. It was neat to do the sit in the hot sauna for a while, the Nordic bathing thing, right? Yeah. Sit in the hot sauna for a while and then run into the snow room. I loved it, loved it, loved it. Now, as part of Yacht Club, as part of Diamond, we're allowed 1 hour free in the thermal suites just for being Diamond once per cruise. In the Yacht Club, you were allowed an hour a day, and they said you had to make reservations. We didn't seem to need them. We showed our Yacht Club card, and they just let us in. In my mind, I would have paid whatever the length of cruise fee would have been to use that thing every day, even if I wasn't in Yacht Club. I would say, yeah, how much are you going to charge me? Yeah, I'm in.
Okay, good. Because that was my next question, saying that if you didn't have the comps, would you actually pay for it for the 4 days? So it's good to hear that.
I would absolutely. And so would my wife. She loved it too. She also said that she loved the massage service she had. She said it was really good. And she appreciated that. I don't know if this was just the person she had or if it's what they do generally. But there wasn't that hard sell at the end of, hey, you need this skin cream or you need this. Some of the ships you go on, frankly, Carnival's bad about that. If you go to the spa in Carnival, I mean, they practically lock the door until you buy something from them. She said there was no hard sell. The lady did tell her, this is what I used for you today. We do offer it, in the store, but there was no hard sell. And she said the service was really great. We do like spa services, so we tend to use them every time when we're on different ships. And certain ships, and it isn't necessarily just because Carnival's, kind of the low price. We had that experience on Holland where we went to the spa and, oh, your skin's very dry. You need this. They tried to sell my wife $600 worth of things on Holland. And she had to keep going, no, I'm sorry, no. And they kept saying, well, if you don't want all of it, at least buy this, It was like, no, thank you. Well, the last thing about the spa and the ship generally is it's interesting that there's kind of a negative tipping culture on MSC. And I don't know if that's their European stuff showing, but they actually, in their stuff they send to you, they say that they discourage tipping of individual people on the ship. When my wife was in the spa, of course, the pre-buy did include a gratuity, but my wife always usually gives a little extra, and she didn't bring cash with her. She thought she could put it on her room charge, and they went, no. They said, well, you can come back and, bring it to Maria or whatever, but there was no easy way to give a tip. And we kind of found there was sort of an like none of the places where we had to sign for something, like in the chocolate shop when we had coffee in there, it wasn't included in the drinks package. They made us sign and there was zero line. There was no place to put a tip.
Yeah, I know that the tipping culture definitely varies across the spectrum from wherever you go in the world. I was in Denmark last April and I was tipping the driver and he wouldn't take my tip. And then he told me that he's like, I know you're a tourist here and the tipping culture is really big in America, but it's considered offensive to some to tip here, which I had no clue. I felt bad even offering because he was such a great tour operator. We hired him for the day. He took us to like 5 or 6 different spots and he spoke perfectly good English. It was just amazing. And I wanted to show my appreciation, but I couldn't through cash. That's for sure.
Well, it's funny. I've traveled twice to China, and in China, it's actually illegal because it's considered like a bribe or graft. So the first time I went there, like I tried to tip like the guy who carried my luggage, and you would have thought like I pulled out a gun. The guy was like looking at me like, no. And you're right. It's just so weird, the difference in the cultures, but.
Do you have any first-time tips for someone who is maybe considering MSC Cruises for the first time? It sounds like the status match is definitely a good one.
I would have gone there like right off the bat. Yeah, that would be my number one tip, would be if you have high-level loyalty or even whatever loyalty you have with them, you have to go on their website. There's a form you have to fill out. It emails back. You wait a few days, they email and tell you what they're giving you. I would absolutely do that. That was well worth the time to do it. And the other thing I would say to first timers is that Mexican restaurant is like the best value on the ship. That first night, it's a first night only thing, but it was a terrific value. And those would be kind of my 2 things that really, really stood out for me.
It sounds like y'all are well-traveled. So where would you put MSC in there among all of your cruising experiences if you were to collectively look at them all?
I mean, they are probably right now for us, I would say they're like number 2 behind Viking Ocean and above Royal. And everybody else is below that. We love Disney. We've done a lot of ones with Disney. We don't do Disney anymore because we just feel like you got to be like in the right frame of mind for Disney. Plus, their pricing has gotten to be insane over what it was pre-pandemic. But yeah, I would say right now, I mean, we left saying it's our new favorite cruise line, short of Viking Ocean when we do like, a Mediterranean, or we did one last year around the boot of Italy on Viking Ocean. That's our go-to luxury cruise line. Mm-hmm. But I would say like neck and neck with Royal, probably slightly higher.
In closing here, the final question I have for you is your final thoughts of MSC Seashore.
Loved it. In fact, we booked for November. So we'll be back on the same boat, same itinerary in November.
A second shot. Very nice. Well, thank you for taking some time this morning to talk with me.
Oh, Doug, this was a thrill, man.
Yeah.
I'm so, I'm over the moon that you even asked me. And, it was a great conversation, my friend.
A big question we get at Cruise Radio is, how do I know if I need trip insurance? Simple answer. If you're getting on a plane, taking a road trip, or getting on a cruise ship, you need to have travel insurance. Hey, it's Doug Parker from my friends at tripinsurance.com. Not only does tripinsurance.com protect your vacation investment, but it also gives you peace of mind in case anything were to go wrong on your trip. How do they do it? They offer 3 different types of trip insurance policies. Good, better, and best. One policy for every vacation budget. But it doesn't just stop there. They're up to 40% lower when you shop around on other comparison sites. Plus, tripinsurance.com offers 24-hour customer support before, during, and after your trip, online claims assistance, and travel alerts to let you know what's going on at your destination. But find out for yourself. Check out tripinsurance.com.
All right, Dougie, let's see what we got for you, buddy. Cruise Radio is produced at the tripinsurance.com studios in Jacksonville, Florida. Get cruise news, ship reviews, and money-saving tips every Thursday on Cruise Radio. If you've enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to the show. If you want to help spread the word, give Cruise Radio a 5-star review. Find Cruise Radio where you listen to your favorite podcast or online at cruiseradio.net. I'm your announcer,